On March 28, 2025, Xi Jinping, the paramount leader of China, hosted a gathering of global business elites in Beijing. The timing was no coincidence. With US President Donald Trump poised to unleash a new wave of tariffs, Xi was on a mission to reassure the world that China remained open for business. The meeting, attended by over 40 CEOs of multinational corporations including FedEx, Qualcomm and HSBC, was a carefully orchestrated charm offensive designed to attract foreign investment and shore up confidence in the Chinese economy. The stakes were high. China's economy, once a seemingly unstoppable engine of growth, had begun to sputter. A slumping property sector, weak consumer spending and the spectre of deflation had cast a shadow over the country's economic prospects. The International Monetary Fund had recently downgraded its growth forecast for China, predicting a meager 5% expansion in 2025, a far cry from the double-digit growth rates of the past. Xi, dressed in a dark suit and tie, greeted the assembled executives with a warm smile and a firm handshake. He spoke at length about China's commitment to globalization and free trade, emphasizing the country's vast market potential and its role as a vital link in global supply chains. The message was clear. China was open for business and foreign companies were welcome to participate in its continued rise. China's economy is at a crossroads. The decades of breakneck growth, fueled by cheap labor, massive infrastructure investment, and a seemingly insatiable appetite for Chinese goods, have given way to a more uncertain reality. The country faces a confluence of challenges, both domestic and external, that threaten to derail its economic juggernaut. The most pressing issue is the slump in the property sector, which accounts for roughly 30% of China's GDP. Years of overbuilding and speculation have left the market awash in unsold properties, leading to a sharp decline in construction activity and investment. This has had a ripple effect throughout the economy, impacting industries from steel and cement to furniture and appliances. Adding to the woes is weak consumer spending. Chinese households, burdened by rising debt levels and growing economic uncertainty, have been reluctant to open their wallets. This has put a damper on domestic demand, further weighing on economic growth. To make matters worse, China is grappling with deflationary pressures. Falling prices, while seemingly beneficial to consumers, can be a sign of deeper economic malaise. When prices fall, businesses delay investment and consumers postpone purchases, leading to a vicious cycle of economic stagnation. Against this backdrop of economic uncertainty, Xi Jinping's meeting with global executives took on added significance. It was a chance for the Chinese leader to allay fears, shore up confidence, and attract much-needed foreign investment. Xi's message was carefully calibrated. He acknowledged the challenges facing the Chinese economy, but struck an optimistic tone, emphasizing the government's commitment to reform and opening up. He pledged to create a more level playing field for foreign companies, improve market access, and strengthen intellectual property protection. China will continue to open its door wider to the world, Xi declared. We will create a more fair, transparent, and predictable business environment for foreign investors. He highlighted the crucial role foreign companies play in China's economy, noting that they account for 1/3 of the country's imports and exports, 1/5 of its tax revenue, and provide jobs for over 30 million people. Xi also used the occasion to issue a thinly veiled rebuke of US protectionism. He called on the international community to resist the temptation to erect trade barriers and disrupt global supply chains. Protectionism is a dead end, Xi warned. It will only lead to isolation and stagnation. Xi's charm offensive came just days before US President Donald Trump was set to announce a new round of tariffs on Chinese goods. The tariffs, part of Trump's long-running trade war with China, have already taken a toll on both economies, disrupting supply chains, raising prices for consumers, and fueling uncertainty in the global marketplace. The tariffs, which Trump has justified as necessary to protect American jobs and intellectual property, have been met with retaliatory measures from China. The two countries have been locked in a tit-for-tat trade war for over 2 years, with no end in sight. Trump's latest tariffs are expected to target a wide range of Chinese goods, from electronics and machinery to apparel and footwear. The tariffs, which could go into effect as early as April 2nd, are likely to further escalate tensions between the world's two largest economies. Section 5. Xi's promises, a new era of openness. Xi Jinping's promises of greater openness and a more level playing field for foreign companies were met with cautious optimism by some observers. They noted that China has a history of making similar pledges, only to fall short on implementation. Skeptics pointed to China's continued dominance of state-owned enterprises, its weak record on intellectual property protection, and its opaque and often arbitrary regulatory environment as evidence that real change would be difficult to achieve. However, others argued that China's economic challenges might force it to finally make good on its promises of reform. They noted that China's reliance on foreign investment and technology has only grown in recent years, giving foreign companies more leverage than ever before. Section 6. The American perspective: fair trade or foul play. The Trump administration has long accused China of unfair trade practices, including intellectual property theft, forced technology transfer, and currency manipulation. They argue that these practices have given Chinese companies an unfair advantage in the global marketplace, costing American jobs and undermining US competitiveness. The Trump administration's trade policies have been met with mixed reactions in the United States. Some businesses and labor unions have applauded Trump's tough stance on China, arguing that it is long overdue. They argue that China's unfair trade practices have cost the US millions of jobs and hollowed out American manufacturing. However, other businesses and economists have criticized Trump's tariffs, arguing that they are counterproductive and harmful to the US economy. They argue that the tariffs have raised prices for American consumers and businesses, disrupted supply chains, and hurt US competitiveness. Section 7. Navigating the labyrinth of US-China relations. The trade war is just one symptom of the deeper tensions and strategic rivalry between the United States and China. The two countries are locked in a battle for global influence, with each seeking to shape the international order in its own image. The US, long accustomed to being the world's sole superpower, is increasingly wary of China's growing economic and military might. China, for its part, is determined to reclaim its rightful place as a leading power in the world. The US and China are deeply intertwined economically, with billions of dollars in trade flowing between the two countries each year. However, the relationship is also marked by deep suspicion and mistrust. Section 8. A world on edge: the global stakes of the trade war. The trade war between the United States and China has sent shockwaves through the global economy. Businesses around the world have been forced to adjust their supply chains, navigate uncertain markets, and grapple with the prospect of a protracted trade conflict between the world's two largest economies. The International Monetary Fund has warned that the trade war is a major threat to global economic growth. The organization has downgraded its growth forecast for 2025, citing the trade war as a key factor. The trade war has also fueled uncertainty and volatility in financial markets. Stock markets around the world have experienced sharp swings as investors react to news of escalating trade tensions. Section 9. The uncertain future of the global economy. The outcome of the trade war between the United States and China remains uncertain. Both sides have dug in their heels and neither seems willing to back down. The trade war is a symptom of a larger geopolitical rivalry between the United States and China. The two countries are vying for global influence, and the trade war is just one front in this broader competition. The trade war has already had a significant impact on the global economy, and a protracted conflict would have far-reaching consequences for businesses and consumers around the world.